IT Act. But you do not comply with me, you do not come to my Sharan, then you face the music. So I was talking about these two girls. These two girls, in common parlance, are known as the Facebook girls. Bala Saheb Thackeray died. One girl put up on Facebook saying, why should Bombay be closed? On the death of a political leader, people like these come and go. And another girl, Renu Srinivasan, liked the post. For that two activities, a case was registered. These girls were arrested. And then something happened which had not happened before. The social media went berserk. The Supreme Court took action. A public interest litigation was filed. And State of Maharashtra said, sorry, we made a mistake, we withdraw the case. These are the only two girls in the history of independent India against whom cases under the IT Act have been registered and then subsequently withdrawn. Reality shows it's so easy to get a case registered against you. It's so easy to walk out a free man or walk out without any kind of a collateral damage of any kind. So the question that's going to come to your mind is, okay, if this is the problem in the law, then what do you need to do? You're only HR. You guys are not responsible for legal. What you need to do is to document within your company and send to legal and your top management. Please comply with the IT Act. Please, let's have those documents in place so that in the event there is a problem, we can at least go under the statutory protection umbrella given by the law. I know of cases where we have actually arrayed head HR as a defendant in law proceedings. Now, why should head HR be made a party? Some mischievous activity has taken place, but the head HR is also a person who's responsible to the company for the running of the day-to-day affairs of the company as far as human resources are concerned. And you have to be alive to the fact that if an offense is committed by a particular company, then the top management and every person who's responsible for running the affairs of the company shall be deemed to be guilty of the said offense. So clearly, I think there are large number of parameters coming across. All I can say is some key learnings. Cyber law is applicable if you are in the electronic format. You need to comply with the cyber law. You need to ensure compliance and due diligence under the law. And if you don't do that, please remember you and your organizations are playing with fire. You alone will be responsible for the legal consequences. And as HR, never try to be CID officials. Never try to go ahead and tamper with original electronic evidence. We've done n number of cases where HR people, without even application of mind, have gone ahead, sat, operated original electronic evidence, thereby diminishing its value and utility on a prejudicial basis. So only one message: compliance, compliance, and compliance with cyber law is the only way forward for every organization, and HR is a very important component in this compliance in the way forward. Thank you, friends.
Very interesting perspective which Mr. Pawan Tugal has brought in is compliance, compliance, compliance. Ignorance of law is no excuse, but easier to be booked, very difficult to come out of it. And as a HR professional, actually, when I am looking at it, and as a person who has been involved in the area of learning and development, I am wondering, the requirement of business is creativity, innovation, take risk. Requirement of the business is, because when I was working with the companies like Airtel or ASL, data is going to be the way forward. So there were organizations which were talking about allowing the Facebook because if the employees use, that will set the culture in motion. But at the same time, if we hear our three legal friends, the interesting perspective is compliance, compliance, and compliance. The fact is, don't take the things at the face value. But at the same time, as a professional of HR, I trust the people and I tell them, kindly inculcate the culture of trust. That is another very, very interesting part which is there. We need to be tighter, we need to be controlled, we need to comply. So in this kind of environment, now I leave the floor for the next about 5 to 7 minutes. Can we take the luxury? 5 minutes. 5 minutes for the audience questions. Please, sir.
Since we are talking about HR and Kanika mentioned about the music, I thought music increases productivity, so that's why they might be going in for such music cassettes. The other thing I want to know from Pawan, now how many countries in the world have enacted a cyber law? And could I get an answer for that first?
It's over 3 dozen who have
Three-
dedicated ones,
Yeah.
but you have different countries who have incorporated provisions impacting cyber in their national legislations. If you look at that, you will close to go about 80, 90 of those countries where you have some provision in the general legislation.
So, and since you said we are all jugadus, so should we have had this act at all? Supposing it was not there at all. But apart from people like you getting out of business, that's a different issue.
If we wouldn't have got a legislation, we would have been in a worse off condition. Why? Because none of the existing laws were ever so drafted keeping in mind these nuances. Let me give you one example, sir, and I'm going to ask everybody in the audience. How many of you in this audience use WhatsApp? Please raise your hands. Wow. Okay, thank you. The next question, how many of you have read the terms and conditions of WhatsApp? Nobody. Okay, so that is the answer to what you are saying, sir. WhatsApp clearly says you have no privacy. You are naked when you're using WhatsApp. Whatever data, audio, video, image, text that you're doing, there is no privacy. In fact, it defines a status message to mean any information that you publish, transmit on WhatsApp. And they say anything which is a status message is not covered by our privacy policy. You have no privacy. So I have been dealing with a case of WhatsApp. Now people, I know Professor Bandwidth for more than a decade and a half. When I have his number, I'm going to save it as Professor Bandwidth. Sometimes I may even save it at his personal first name. But he has no control of how I'm going to save his name. Maybe I can write as IIT professor. I'm doing of a case where a gentleman, let's say his name is Ashok Kumar, a page 3 personality, very fond of wine and women, he gives his number to a close friend, another friend. And this friend, for the purposes of remembrance, makes his writes and saves his name not as Ashok Kumar, but Womanizer Ashok. And then download WhatsApp. And now every time he calls to somebody who's got WhatsApp, it flashes Womanizer Ashok calling. We've been trying for the last 8 months to get this off these servers in Scandinavia. We have not been successful. So that's one thing to tell you, sir. Human conduct is infallible. We will continue. In fact, I was talking to somebody in the morning. He said, when you use WhatsApp, your privacy is Ram Bharose. Because there is actually no privacy. And if this is what our conductor's law is at least required to put in place a semblance of a framework. Not that we have the best of the laws. Our law is very defective. We need to do lots in terms of stuff. For example, I do a lot of these mobiles, bullying, cyberbullying cases these days, where misuse of mobile for bullying another person is happening. We are not able to effectively cover under the law. So the law, sir, is required. Had we not got a law, we would not have at least seen this much development that we have seen. And plus, this law was required because the then minister said, if I don't have this law, Pramod Mahajan, India is not going to take off in the e-commerce scenario. And that he was very right. Had the legal framework for e-commerce not been established in 2000, we would have been much, much behind the current state. Thanks. Over to you, Kani.
If I may add to this, what Pavanji has just said, I fully agree with what he has said. It's essential to have the act because it just touches on every aspect of our daily lives. Internet, we can't do without it. So social communications or our business dealings, internet and e-communications are forming an intrinsic part. Now, if we didn't have the IT Act, how will the legal recognition be given to electronic records? You know, if we are e-contracting today, how will they be legalized? How will the electronic evidence be made admissible? So not only the IT Act has given us the provisions which define what are cyber crimes or what are civil wrongs in the IT space or what is the infrastructure going to be, who are the authorities concerned, what are the powers. It has also amended the relevant laws related to IT. For instance, the Evidence Act. Several provisions in the IPC also. There are provisions now under other enactments like the Indecent Representations of Women's Act. You know, so electronic media is now a part and parcel of almost every statute. So relevant amendments are being made from time to time to take care of the situation. So I feel that it is essential to have a specific legislation, and it is going to not be beneficial for our countries at all if it's not there. India was the 12th nation in the world to adopt cyber laws. That's what. 12th. 12th. That's what my information is. It may be wrong.
Case you mentioned about the woman, there was a camera which was put up in the cabin of a manager, and the HR just barged in and they reported to the management. We previously, before you came up, we were just listening to Mrs. Karika, and she was just telling us what are the steps to be taken if such cases happen in any company. So what do you suggest? What HR should have done, or what is the compatibility if some recording is being done by the pen spy camera? I mean, that those cameras are visible, but not the pen sky camera, which can be recorded up and what is happening in front of which can clearly be seen. Second question is, you have been talking about our contracts. Sir, Dr. Melinda was saying that we are making contracts and everything should be there in the contract or the appointment letter which has been given to the employees. Should not be those things written in the statutes of the standing orders which are being of the different companies decided? Everything has been decided upon the company. So standing orders is one part. As per the IR laws, it has to be there.
I think you're bang on target. The more it's written, the less the ambiguous the situation is, and the better position you are in. But if you don't write stuff, now, if you take random 10 Indian companies and ask them, do you have a social media policy? Maybe 1 or 2 will say, I have something, but 8 will say, I do not have. Your challenge with the pen and the spy cameras become even more bigger. Now, I know of, there's a new app that's come on iPhone, which allows you to record all calls and also add features therein. We know of applications where your voice is recorded in your voice without your knowledge, but the output is in the voice of a man, an old man, a child, or whatever. Various permutations, combinations are there. If anybody is using spy camera, I think you need to have certain things very clear. First and foremost, no company needs to allow spy camera by the use of their employees. And if they are found wanting, that should be essential misconduct, straight away leaving to termination of this guy. Because
what is credibility in the eyes of law?
of the output of the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. The law is very clear. The person who propounds the electronic record is the guy who has to prove it. So supposing Mr. X has recorded something with you through a spy camera.